What's up, people? Looks like I got a few dry hours here. I was gonna take the car, but realized I hadn't ridden my bike the entire freaking weekend. Much as I love driving that thing. I gotta break in my new boots. So now I am officially all Sedici gear. Although my track boots are still Alpine Stars, as are my track gloves, but picked up a leather Corsa 2 jacket and upgraded all the armor in it. And then did those leather Corsa 2 track pants from Sedici. All this stuff is made by Axial, so it's not like the built gear. It's definitely a step up. But between my RPM Club discount and some points that I had. Actually, no, I didn't use the points on that. I used the points on the boots. We'll get to next. But I had this $551 out the door for a two-piece leather tracksuit. And then I had my A-Stars armor that I ripped out of my A-Stars gear before I tossed all that shit in the trash. And there you go. I still got my SuperTech R boots because those are really good boots and haven't fallen apart yet. And my full gauntlet style gloves of the Alpine Stars. I paid like $180 for those, so those are good. And they haven't gotten wet, so the Velcro hasn't shit the bed yet. But I went all Sedici. Reason being, if it's only going to last a couple years, although the track pants will last longer because I'm only going to wear them a few times a year, I'd rather replace a $300 jacket than a $650 jacket. And if the zipper fails or anything happens in 3 or 5 years or whatever, I could just walk into Cycle Gear and say, here, this fell apart, and they'll go grab one off the shelf. And I'll get a brand new one. So I'm getting 2 jackets or boots or gloves or anything. When you think about it, you get 1 free replacement. And you basically get 2 for the price of 1, which will absolutely last longer than the A-Stars shit. Now we'll say that it fits a little differently. You gotta get used to and break them in for them to get comfortable, like the boots, whereas the Alpine Stars tend to be comfortable right out of the gate. But as soon as these soften up, I've actually had these in the past, rode with these, whatever they are, forget the model. I think these are the Chicane 2s. I'll tell you, for the longest time, they would wear out like every year or so, and I would go back to the store. I got like 5 pairs for the price of 1. I paid $179 for the pair of boots, and every year, 14, 15 months, I was just going back and being like, yeah, they wore out again. All right, we'll grab another one. So I just kept getting brand new boots. They did put a stop to that. But you do get 1 free replacement within the life. Unless, you know, they could show it's defective. If you're just wearing them out, it's another thing. But, whatever. It's only, when you get down to it, the gear only has to work once. And the leather, and actually everything feels really good. It's very well padded. The armor is in just the right places. It's a heavy jacket. It's not a lightweight jacket. This one doesn't have a liner or anything in it, but it seems like a decent jacket. It doesn't feel much different than Alpine Stars when you put it on. So anyway, so break in my boots, enjoy a little bit of the weather, a little bit of break in the rain. The weather this weekend in Georgia has been shit. Normally it's like beautiful summer weather for Memorial Day, because it should be full-time summer here, but it's really like early spring right now. It's been fairly cold, a lot of rain. So I'm about to do a little ride. Maybe I'll go get a fish sandwich over at Culver's or something. Wrist check, what do we got today? We got the Certina DS Podium GMT. Lovely, lovely watch. I think I only have 1 GMT right now. So what are we going to talk about? So I'm going to try to talk about a topic that's going to border on political, because it's part of the problem with it, but I'm going to try to be as minimally political as I am capable of. so no promises. I want to talk about EVs and why I think people need to stop with the anti-EV nonsense from both sides. You know, before it was the Democrats that, you know, the way to virtue signal was to go out and buy a Tesla, and then like a vegan, tell everybody about your Tesla and how good, you know, show everybody how good of a person you are, because buying Teslas will help us control the weather and save the planet. You personally, by virtue of buying a product and of course letting everybody know you bought the product, you could then claim to help save the lives of billions of people. And EV was the way of the future, and gassers better just get on board or not, and Tesla was the only real viable option, so that was the premier virtue signal. So, yeah. And basically conservatives wouldn't get caught dead in a Tesla. Oh, it's a microwave. You wouldn't cook your steak with a microwave, would you? You know, and all the dumb Luddite arguments that conservatives would come up with because they just didn't want to be told what to do. And the assumption was, if you like Teslas, then you must be some sort of communist who hates America and wants the terrorists to win, right? And if you didn't like a Tesla, then you were a heartless bastard who wanted to kill baby polar bears, right? So, oh my, how things have changed. And, you know, Tesla did a lot for the industry, did a lot for renewables and battery technology, charging infrastructure, battery powered like backups at power stations to store power when it was being produced in off-peak hours, to then have it stored somewhere, and, you know, these giant battery centers. Like, Tesla has done a lot, and Musk has been driving that. People say, well, it's not really Musk. You know, well, it wasn't really Steve Jobs then that drove Apple and the iPhone. It was all the nerds and people with pocket protectors that did it. You know, Steve Jobs was just the figurehead. You know, if you're going to use that argument, you can't just say, well, he's just the CEO and the one, you know, the figurehead, and it's not really Musk that's responsible for Tesla, and it's not really Musk that's responsible for SpaceX and Starlink and all these other things. He's just a figurehead. But then those same people will sit down and worship at the altar of Steve Jobs as if he personally invented the iPhone himself and, you know, everything Apple. So there's always that double standard. But the truth is, you know, the PayPal guy made his initial big money off, I mean, he made some money off a company before that and put it into PayPal, and he's been good at investing in companies and driving them to success and then selling them for a lot more money than he bought them for. And he took that money and from PayPal and invested a bunch in Tesla and a bunch in SpaceX, and then took money from those that he made and put it in Starlink. And, you know, dude's a really smart dude, to the point that he's probably on the spectrum somewhere and a bit autistic and socially awkward. But a lot of your super geniuses are, and he is a super genius. He's an incredibly intelligent guy who sees the world and thinks of things in the ways that we don't. Whether you agree with him or not is really irrelevant. But Tesla paved the way for EVs, and you know what? Initially, I didn't like EVs either. Oh, it's stupid. I like the vroom vroom noises. You know, there's this inherent mistrust of something that's, you know, new. All your experience, your knowledge, your stories, your memories, your money, all of that is tied to, you know, whatever the architecture of the day is. And so when something new comes up that makes all of that obsolete, in a weird way, it kind of makes you obsolete. This kind of ties back to the discussion we've had about boomers. I'm not anti-boomer. My parents are boomers. I'm only one generation removed from boomers. My generation, Gen X, is about to be the next boomers that are going to replace them. Right? So all the hate that the boomers get is going to be directed at me next. But there are some valid points that millennials and Gen Z makes about boomers, where they're just stuck in the past. Well, this is how we did things in my day. Yeah, well, we don't do it that way anymore. The world is different. And when you were kids and your parents were telling you, well, that's not how we did things in the 1920s. And before that, it was, that's how we did things when I was a kid and we had slaves. It's like, yeah, well, things change. We find sometimes better ways. You could say, well, some of the changes aren't for the better, they're for the worse. Okay. There's certainly aspects of society we're more divided than we've ever been. We're more hostile than we've ever been. We're the least interested in having a dialogue or a discussion or sharing ideas. We just want to bludgeon each other over the head and silence the other side so that we win by default. And I include both sides in that, although when it comes to cancel culture, absolutely one side is clearly the winner on that. There's not a lot of leftists getting canceled by people on the right. 9 times out of 10, it's the other way around. But I'm sure it happens. Both sides are guilty, even if it's to varying degrees. So we'll put them both in that camp. But Tesla paved the way for everybody else. There have been so many attempts going back over 100 years to make electric cars viable, and they have failed every time. I think there was an attempt at electric cars like before 1900 or something. Like, I mean, seriously, they've been trying to make electric powered cars work. Really, probably since the invention of the car. You know, producing electricity and storing it in a battery can be more efficient than going and building a deep sea rig and finding oil deposits and going through all the legislation and governments and stuff to get oil rights, and all the dangers of drilling into the deep sea floor to pull this stuff up and then transport it on big, clunky, expensive ships to refineries to then go through. I mean, getting gas out of the ground or getting oil out of the ground and getting it into your tank is a massively dangerous, expensive, and inefficient way of doing things. To be fair, we have scaled it up to the point that, you know, you can pretty much get gas on every street corner and all that. But it took us decades, if not generations, to get to that point. But when cars first came out, gasoline-powered cars, you had an entire industry around the horse. And I was watching something Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about, and he's right. You know, everything was built around the horse. And you would pull a vehicle with your horse, or you would ride your horse. You had blacksmiths, you had saddle makers, you had people making the tack. You had coach builders making the wagons. You had to have feed and water and stables to store your house or your horse and your buggy overnight. Like, there was an entire industry. Buggy whip makers, repairs, all that stuff. That vanished within 20 years or less when the car came out. And there was, you know, why would you trust this car? It's smelly. You got to worry about gas. What if you get a flat tire? You know, a horse, you just pull over and find a puddle to drink from and let him eat some grass and go on your way, right? I can trust a horse. I can communicate to an extent with a horse, and I know the horse. I trust the horse. This contraption that makes noise and pukes smoke out the back and drips oil everywhere and needs all this maintenance. Why would anybody want that? Yeah, here we are. It took some time, but we kind of perfected it. I'm on a marvel of engineering right now. I got a 2024 ZX-10R. Thing's making high 180 something horsepower at the wheel. It's 190 horsepower, 190 mile an hour missile. It's got state-of-the-art lean angle sensing. It's got knows 3-axis, so roll, pitch, and yaw. It knows what the bike's doing in real time down to hundredths of a second. It knows what the brakes are doing. It knows the speed. It knows the lean angles. It knows how much brakes I'm being applying. And it can adjust all these parameters for shifting and all kinds of crap. Traction control, ABS, slide control, all this amazing stuff all faster than I can think, so that I could ride this at absolutely insane, illegal, ludicrous speeds and, for the most part, do it, somewhat safely. That's amazing. That all of this, that you can buy all this performance and technology and make it easily accessible. But it took us time to get there, right? Technology takes a while to mature. But EVs, electric vehicles, never went anywhere. Everybody would try it, and it's going to be the next thing. It would crash and burn every freaking time. Sometimes literally. Until Tesla came along. And finally, EVs were not only able to be mass produced, they were reliable, and people liked them and bought them. They were viable transportation for the masses. Musk made that happen. No, Musk and Tesla under the direct, because when Musk came over and took over Tesla wasn't doing that great. Musk took them just like Steve Jobs took Apple. Musk is the Steve Jobs of the automotive world in our generation. He's the Henry Ford. Take out what you think and what the media and your television told you to think because, he likes bad orange man. Get rid of all that shit. Look at the technology. Just look at the man. Look at what he's done with regards to the car and technology. Try to be objective and lay your emotions aside. And that's the crux of the problem, I think, is most people cannot do that. Their ego's involved in their gas-powered stuff because that's what they do and it's their passion, and all the sleepless nights spent in the garage building the turbo kit and installing it to your Mustang and doing all this stuff to go to the drag strip and, building the motor and changing out the con rods and all this stuff. You pour your heart and passion and way more money than you should, maybe even cause your divorce because you loved your car more than your wife. And you get this monstrous, crazy fast machine, and you go to the drag strip, and some dude rolls in with the dealer sticker, the temporary tag, still on his four-door electric sedan in a Tesla Plaid, and blows your fucking doors off. It's not a good feeling, I imagine. Musk made all that happen. He was the Steve Jobs of the EV world. He made it not only popular, he got everybody else in the industry to follow through and follow him. GM, Ford, Volvo, Porsche. You got Lambo now making EVs and stuff like. It's just, he turned the automotive world on its head and showed the world that if you do it right, EVs can be viable. Not just as a general technology, like, it actually works. It gets you from point A to point B. But that they could be made affordable. They could appeal to the masses. They could be blistering, bone-crushing performance. And be fun and cool and all that stuff. And liberals could not buy them fast enough. It was only a couple years ago that the Tesla Model Y was the best-selling car in the world. Not the best-selling EV. It was the best-selling car of all types of cars in the world. Now, you go back 20 years, 30 years ago, any other point in automotive history and said, hey, do you think an electric car is going to be the best-selling car in the world? People would have thought that was insane. Probably the same kind of people that would have said, hey, we're going to have a portable computer called an iPhone that's going to do everything, and you'll be able to start your car and control your home with it and do all your banking and play games and talk to people on the other side of the planet in real time and send emails and work on a spreadsheet. They would have been like, oh, that's like Star Trek shit. Come on. Nobody needs that. Yet Steve Jobs said, yeah, the world does need that. And he drove Apple to bring out the iPhone that just shattered the mold on what a telephone could be. And, you know, Google picked up the banner and passed Apple, but I mean, you know, they're still pushing forward and making trillions of dollars. It was a paradigm shift of technology. You went from, oh, our phone is on this wire in our home, and you can only go as far as the cord. Remember those big curly Q cords that we could tie into the knots and stuff? And you tried to walk from the kitchen into the hallway to have a little privacy when you're talking to your girlfriend and your parents are having dinner, right? We went from that to a basic cellular phone, and then bam, to the frickin' iPhone and everything that came after. That is a massive paradigm shift. And Musk did that in the car world with regards to EVs. Everyone said it couldn't be done. Here we are. And now the politics have shifted, because before, conservatives wanted nothing to do with it. Oh, California's forcing it on us, and that means the rest of the country's going to follow, and no one's going to tell them, I'll drive gas till I'm dead, you know, gas or nothing. And they construct all this mental gymnastics of why, you know, EVs will give you herpes, and, you know, only communists drive them, and all this other crap to justify just sticking with what they have because that's what they know. People do not like change. Most people don't. They get to a certain comfort level, they know where they stand, they're comfortable with the technology, the means of using it, the use cases are part of their routine, and there's a bit of security in the known. And especially if you're a hot rod guy and you're a car guy and you love your manual transmissions and all your 1970s technology, and that's what you've built your hobby and your lifestyle and your friends and your culture around, just like the person that's all into their horses and their buggies, and they have a bond, like an actual bond with their horse because it's a living thing, they don't want to give that up readily. And so you had a lot of conservatives being sticks in the mud about the technology. Now, make no mistake, I'm conservative in most ways, and I don't want to be forced to buy anything. I think it should always be an option. Personally, I don't know if EVs are the ultimate answer. I feel like hybrids are probably the best, but it can't be a goddamn Prius. It needs to be something like a Tesla that's got a little 1-liter turbo diesel that gets 80 miles to the gallon of clean diesel, but it gives you 500 horsepower of electric instant torque, but you could drive it from here to New York City on 10 gallons of diesel. That'd be freaking amazing, right? You get all the benefits of the EV, but you get using the existing infrastructure of gas, but you lower carbon emissions and you lower exhaust. I mean, whether you believe in global warming or not, you can't deny that everything's spewing toxic fumes into the air. You can't say that that's a good thing, right? If you don't think the toxic fumes are bad, well, I mean, what happens if you're in the garage, right, and leave your car running for half an hour with the door closed and you're in there? Guess what? You die. So we know that the stuff is toxic. So, should we do less of it? Well, yeah, it's in our best interest and everything around us to not pollute the very air we need to breathe. Regardless of whether you're a climate change denier or alarmist, I think that's something we all have to agree on, right? That if there's a way to reduce our air pollution by 50%, I mean, shouldn't we try to do that if it's feasible? It doesn't hold back progress and technology and our way of life that much, right? I mean, and that's the problem. Nobody ever wants middle ground, You either got the lefties that want to be all in and they don't mind taking us back to the Stone Age as long as they can still get their $6 latte, or $12 under Biden. you know, they're fine telling everybody what to do, and the conservatives, well, we just don't want to be told what to do. We don't like big government. But let's just take out all of that shit. The fact that before it was the left virtue signaling telling us that we're cretins and idiots because we don't want EVs crammed down our throats, to now you see Teslas and Cybertrucks everywhere driven by people with MAGA hats, and the lefties that wanted to mandate Teslas and force us to buy them are now shooting them up and blowing them up and firebombing them and stuff. I mean, Bill Maher had a segment recently about, you know, both sides love to pretend that we stick to our principles, but he's like, yeah, do you? You really? And he went down the list of all the things in like the last 12 years that Democrats and Republicans have flip-flopped on, where we hold this, you know, and he basically showed where it came down to whoever was saying it. When Obama says it, the lefties are all like, yeah, we need to cut government waste and spending and this and that and get everything under control and stop wasting taxpayer dollars. As soon as Trump says it, no, you don't have a right to do that. And they take the opposite stance. And he's like, so everybody's core, firmly held core beliefs are bullshit. What we have firmly held is who says it. If Trump says it, the right thinks it's good. If Biden says it, the right thinks it's bad, even though it's the same thing. And the left is exactly the same. Biden and Clinton or anybody on the left proposes something, oh, that makes sense, that's a good idea. Trump says, no, that's fascism. Well, how could the same idea be fascism? Or the best idea ever? Depending on who says it. It can't. It's one or the other. It's either a good idea or it's a dumb idea. And the person saying it shouldn't impact that. But it does for all of us. And so I would urge people to give EVs a second chance, second thought. And here's the thing, people say, well, you know, we just hate Musk, so it's not that we're now anti-EV, we don't like Tesla. Well, guess what? Nobody else is really viable. Yes, Kia and other companies are making EVs now, but none of them are doing very well at it. None of them have sales numbers. It's like Tesla, even with Tesla's decline, they're still selling as much or more than the next 12 EV brands combined. To the extent that Mercedes and Volvo and GM and everybody else is pulling back on EVs. They're like, look, Tesla's made it work. We don't seem to be able to. And so we're going to offer some because we need to earn credits with the government and this and that. But we're not going to keep investing in. We have all the stockpiles of inventory stacking up that we can't get rid of. And it's costing us billions. And Ford and GM and all the biggest automakers in the world are kind of pulling back on this whole EV thing. Because like it or not, the only one that's been truly able to demonstrate that they have cracked that nut is Tesla, Musk. So for the people saying, well, we just won't buy Teslas on the left, we're going to buy something else. No, you're not. You're really not. They're going to sell a couple Blazers, they're going to sell a couple Kias. A couple people with a lot of money are going to buy a Taycan from Porsche, which honestly, I mean, that is such a cool car. Absolutely blistering performance. It's a great alternative to the Tesla if you got the money. But how many people are going to go spend $130,000 on an EV? Not a lot. You can say, well, people are buying a Tesla Plaid. Well, a Tesla Plaid is $96,000. The prices did go up a little. If your household makes less than $300,000 or you as an individual make less than $2,000, you get your $7,500. It's an $89,000 car. That's a lot. That is an expensive car for most people. But for 1,050 horsepower all-wheel drive monster that is 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and a top speed of 200 miles an hour while being a really posh, nice four-door luxury sedan, you know, if you compare it to a Mercedes S-Class or, you know, something else that's, you know, fast and that level of, I mean, it's a bargain. It's expensive, but not in the world that its performance envelope competes in. What is a BMW M5 competition xDrive loaded with options cost? Well up into six figures. What's a BMW M8 cost competition? 130? I mean, it's cars have gotten stupid expensive. But you don't even need a Plaid. You look at a Model 3 Performance, it's $56,000, just under 50 with your tax break. That is the price of a probably a maxed out, but still a maxed out Toyota Camry. And you're getting 0 to 60 in 2.9, a top speed of 162. It's faster than a Mustang GT 5-liter. It's 4 doors. It's got a kickin' stereo system. Lots of room, trunk space. It's a killer little car. It's the same price as a Golf R. But it absolutely spanks it. That car 0 to 60 is ridiculous. You can pick them up for 50 grand. I think you got to take the politics and just look at it as a car. At the end of the day, it's still, well, it's not a real car. Real cars have gas. Well, real transportation used to have horses. Real butter was butter you churned yourself, not something you bought in sticks at a grocery store. Like, people just get so stuck on, well, this is what this is. Oh, it's not a real Corvette because a Corvette has the engine in the front, or the other one. Forget that Zora, the original designer of the Corvette, always wanted the Corvette to be a mid-engine. And GM just said, nah, that'll never sell. And GM just didn't want to do it. They were worried it would be too expensive to make. And the Corvette, from its inception, the vision was to evolve into a rear-engine car, or mid-engine. But I see people now, I don't consider the C8 a real Corvette. Why? Well, because the Corvette has round headlight or tail lights, and the Corvette, the new C8, doesn't. It's like, who the fuck cares about the shape of the tail light? Well, that's what a Corvette is. No, that's what a Corvette was. Well, that's what it's supposed to be. No, the Corvette is supposed to be whatever GM decides to sell. It's their car. You either like it and buy it, or you don't, you buy something else. But I can't imagine people going, well, I just couldn't buy the new C8 because, you know, the shape of the taillights is just wrong. Who gives a fuck? All the Ford and Mopar guys are the ones that have to look at it because that's what they're going to see, is they're going to see the back of the car, right? Because you're going to be in front of them. Who gives a shit what shape the taillights are? But people just get, well, that's what I know. That's what I've known since the 70s, and that's what my daddy had, my grandpappy had. And then people just get stuck in these ruts because that's what they know. That's what they're comfortable with. And as soon as something changes, it's like they just feel like a fish out of water. Well, and when technology changes, when you go from a gas where I hear a boom, I hear a noise, I know that things are happening. I know that it's working on some level. And I could probably go out there and go, oh, the spark plug's bad. Let me change that. There's that comfort and that knowledge and that experience. When it comes to a car that doesn't have any of that, it's got a battery, it has a couple electric motors, and it's got a computer. And your average guy that's been wrenching on his car since the 70s, or the newer kid that's just, out there building a turbo Civic and all that shit in the garage, they don't know what to do with any of that. There's no comfort there. How do you trust something that you can't see what it's doing? You can't hear what it's doing. It's just ones and zeros and electrons behind the scenes. How do you trust something you can't put your hands on? I don't know. You do it with technology every day. Your current cars have computers. Your phone is a computer. Your computer is a computer. Your smart TV is a computer. But somehow with cars, it just crosses this line of, no, I have to have this. It's a four-door car. It has brakes and a steering wheel. and power windows and cruise control and a backup camera. It's got forward and reverse, and you can turn it. It looks like a freaking car because it is a car. All that's changed is what physically, what energy source. That's all we're talking about. EVs are not, as a car, they're not fundamentally different. What's different is the energy source. Where in the power pipeline are you? You taking the gas, the dinosaur poo that's been refined, and exploding it and making your own power on board? Or is it done at a power station and then you basically download that energy produced into your batteries for storage? Instead of a gas tank, you have a battery. Instead of internal combustion, you got an electric motor. Other than that, it's a goddamn car. It shouldn't be political. Shouldn't be scary. Now, you can make logical arguments against an EV. Well, you know, if you live in an apartment complex and you don't have access to a plug every night to charge it, and you got the range anxiety, well, most electric cars have a range of 300 miles. A Model S long range or whatever, I mean, you can get up to 400 or something. Like, the tank range can be comparable to a lot of gas cars. I'm going to say, well, I got a diesel truck with a 35-gallon tank. I can go 600 miles. Whatever. You have a specialty vehicle made for towing shit. Most cars probably have around a 300, 350, whatever mile range. And you fill up a couple times a week. Unless you're going on a trip. And that's the biggest difference. If you own a home, for $1,000 with install, you can have a 220 volt charging, high amp charging. You get home and just like you plug in your cell phone or set it on the wireless cradle, you just plug your car in. You wake up in the morning, you have a full tank every day. How many of you watching this, if you made it this far, if you did, kudos. How many of you go more than 300 miles in one shot in a single day? Oh, well, when I drive up to Nashville or for the weekend, oh, okay. There's a road trip, but if you're going on a road trip, chances are you're going interstate, and you've got Tesla fast chargers, the superchargers, where you get 80% in like 18 minutes. So instead of 5 minutes to fill up, all right, well, you go in, pee, grab a Gatorade and a roller dog and come back and sit there for 5 minutes, and now you get another 250 miles. And that'll take you another 4 or 5 hours, at which point you're probably ready to stop and piss again, get rid of that Gatorade you bought the last stop. It's really not that big of an issue. The average commute in the United States is 42 miles. Some people have more, a lot of people have a lot less. So if you're using your car largely for commuting, and you live 14 miles from the office, so 30-mile trip, but maybe you stopped at Kohl's on the way home, get a whatever. All right, let's just say it's 40 miles. Well, you can go like 4 days without a charge easily. You might be able to go 5 or 6 days without a charge, just like a gas car. But unlike a gas car, most people don't have a gas refinery at their house. So in a gas car, you will have to stop every few days to gas up and pay whatever that fee is. You will have to do oil changes and a transmission flush and replace the belts, and you know, there's maintenance that goes into cars. Spark plugs. What do you have to do with an EV? Put washer fluid in it? Change tires and brake pads once in a while. You're going to have to do that anyway. But an EV, you wake up every day and it's fully charged. You're ready to go 300 miles every morning, which most of us never do. And they've got regenerative braking. So instead of going through tons of brake pads, it uses those electronic motors as generators to slow the car down, and you get back some of that energy into the battery. Whereas with the car, normal car, all of that is lost to friction and heat. They're not for everybody, but for the people that think, oh, it's not a real car, it's an appliance. All cars are appliances. They exist to fill a purpose. So whether it's, like another appliance of mixing something, you can say, well, it's more than that. It's about fun. It's about driving somewhere and the experience. Okay. I love driving my Corvette around. I find excuses all the time to just go and drive the thing. But if I had a Tesla Model 3 Performance or a Plaid, I'd be doing the same thing because it's way faster than my Corvette. This bike is an absolute lunatic. ZX-10R is one of the fastest motorcycles currently in production. You say, well, there's 1,000. They're all within like 1% of each other. You say, well, this one gaps that one. Okay, by a bike length and a half. That means it was like 0.5% faster. A Tesla is faster than this. It launches faster and harder. It accelerates faster in the mid-range. It's got a higher top speed. If I were to race a Tesla Plaid in this, I would most likely lose. In fact, I know I would. I've seen Chris Moore race one on a tuned Hayabusa and a tuned ZX-14. He lost to a Plaid. That's amazing. Oh, it doesn't have soul because it doesn't have noise. Who gives a shit about noise? I'm going to turn up the stereo and listen to my music as the world, like the Millennium Falcon hitting light speed and the things start to blur around you. That is its own kind of excitement. That savage sledgehammer acceleration that you do not get from a gas car. It just requires a change in thinking. But I think back to the whole boomer thing, there's comfort in knowing what you know, and when you got so much time and hours and, like I said, your culture, your friends, the car clubs, the things that you do on weekends, when it's all tied up into the current technology and another technology comes around with a push of a button makes it obsolete, and in a way all your knowledge and experience also obsolete, you probably feel like it makes you obsolete because you don't know the new tech. You don't know, you're not invested in that. You're going to resent it. Because the new tech means that your time at the top of that whatever food chain is basically over. And you're going to try to hold that day off as long as possible. But it's going to happen. The world and technology is going to move forward. That's a certainty. And I'm fine with that. The people that made horse and buggy whips and saddles and blacksmiths and farriers and all the people that were part of the horse mode of transportation, which is what the world used for thousands of years. They had to go learn new skills. They had to go get new jobs. They didn't like it. They would have preferred to keep it the old way. But the world in the end doesn't care. The world does what it does, and you can either catch it, you can either, I don't know why this guy... Of course, that would happen right in front of a cop. And I need some gas. Point is, technology changes, and you could change with it, or you fall behind. You can try to hang on to your gas cars and try to fight the EV stuff as long as you want. At some point, Tesla's shown that it's viable. Tesla has shown that it works. And you can fight it or you can get on board and ride that next wave, become an expert in that, enjoy it for what it has to offer. And it does have things to offer. That's the thing. Having an EV doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're a communist. If it's not for you because you just don't like it, well, that's fine. But pretending it's like, oh, this is a scary thing and oh, it could never work. It is working. They're selling millions of the goddamn things. They're everywhere. So leave the politics out. Enjoy the technology for what it is. Because it's just getting started. I'm going to get one at some point. I'm going to move up. I'm going to probably end up getting a Tesla. Another generation of battery and... leading down and my chin strap choked me when I swallowed. You point straight down, it pushes into your voice box. Anyway, I'm going to gas up and move on. Everybody have a good day.